For 100 years, the galaxy was silent about Earth. The war was over. The humans were gone. The other species moved on. They built new cities, signed peace treaties, and erased the old stories of the human empire. People said humans were too dangerous, too smart, too angry. But in the end, they were just gone. No ships, no signals, nothing. Just a blue planet left behind, floating cold and quiet in space. Everyone believed humanity was finished. But then something strange happened. A small scout ship from the Valari Union entered Earth's system. It was a science team, just curious. They wanted to study Earth's ruins. The ship floated over the broken satellites and dead stations. No one had visited in decades. They expected dust, silence, and old bones. They were not ready for what they found. Captain Sira, a tall, red-skinned Valari, stood at the front of the observation deck. Her eyes scanned the planet below. The blue oceans still moved. The clouds still danced. Earth looked alive, but her scanners showed no life. It was like a ghost pretending to be alive. They sent drones down to the surface. The cities were overgrown, with plants. Nature had taken back the land. Broken towers stood like the skeletons of giants. Cars, buildings, and machines lay rusted under vines. But one thing was strange. No signs of battle, no bombs, no fire. Humanity didn't go out in a war. They just vanished. One of the drones reached a mountain range in the north. It flew into a narrow cave deep underground. There it found a door. Not just a door, an entrance made of black metal with glowing blue lines. Symbols were written on it, old human English mixed with something else. One word pulsed in soft light. Awakening. Captain Sira narrowed her eyes. What is that? She whispered. Her science officer ran tests. The material of the door was unknown. The energy inside was still active, even after 100 years. No other human tech was working, but this was alive. They sent more drones, but before they could touch the door, the signal cut off. Every drone around Earth stopped working at the same time. Back on the scout ship, the lights flickered. Screens blinked. A low hum filled the room, like a voice. Trying to speak, but not quite ready. The crew looked around in panic. Then a signal came through their system. Not a voice, not a message, just one word repeated over and over in an old human code. Awakening. 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 Captain Sira's heart raced. "Turn us around!" she ordered. "Get us out of this system now!" The engines fired, and the ship pulled away from orbit. But just as they reached the edge of Earth's gravity, the ship froze. Not stopped, frozen in space, like time had been paused. Their screens showed something rising from the planet. It was massive, larger than any ship they had ever seen. It came from under the surface, hidden deep in Earth's crust for years. The ground split open, and black smoke poured out. A shape rose slowly, like a mountain growing wings. The ship had no lights, no colors, just black metal and red lines glowing like veins. It didn't use engines. It floated with power that didn't show on any scanner. It was not flying. It was rising. On its side were human letters, ancient, scratched, but clear. Eidolon. The crew watched in silence. A voice came through their speakers, but it was not from their systems. It was not speaking any known language. It was something old, older than the current Galactic Council. A voice made by machine, yet it sounded angry. Then the voice shifted. It spoke in perfect galactic standard. "This is Earth Defense Ship Eidolon. Directive active. Threat detected. Reclaiming begins." Captain Sira screamed, "Go! Move! Now!" The engines restarted, but behind them the ship moved too, faster than it should. Its guns didn't glow. Its weapons didn't open. It just followed, watching. A message was sent across the galaxy from Sira's ship. Earth is not dead. Humanity has not been erased. Something is rising. Something old. On distant planets, leaders opened old files marked Human Emergency Protocol. Panic spread in secret rooms. Long ago, humanity fought a war that burned across 10 star systems. No species could match their speed, their machines, their cold logic. But then, they disappeared. No one knew why. Now their ships, silent for a century, were waking up. On Earth, the black vault in the mountain opened wider. More machines came online. Satellite grids blinked. Deep under the ocean, something else stirred. The planet had been sleeping, waiting. And somewhere in deep space, a signal traveled faster than light, heading toward the old battlefields where more human tech had been left behind. The message was the same: awakening, directive active, reclaim Earth, restore fleet. The galaxy had thought the war was over. The galaxy had moved on. They were wrong. Humanity had never surrendered. Humanity had never died. They were just waiting. And now, they were coming back. Captain Syra's ship barely escaped Earth's orbit. The crew was shaking. Their screens were full of warnings. Systems were damaged. Engines were overheating. But they didn't care. All they wanted was to get away from that thing, the ship, that rose from the planet like a sleeping god. They had called it Eidolon. That name was written in ancient human letters on its side. It had no crew, no lights, no sounds, just a long black body and deep red lines that pulsed like blood vessels. It did not chase them, but it watched. It watched everything. Back at Valari Union HQ, the council gathered in fear. No one believed the report at first, but the data was clear. Something had activated under Earth's surface, and it wasn't just a signal. It was a machine, a warship, and it was not new. It was over 100 years old, but it moved like it was born yesterday. The galaxy remembered the human war. How could they forget? Humanity had entered space later than the others, but they learned faster, built smarter, fought harder. Their ships had no beauty, only power. Their minds connected with machines in ways others couldn't understand. That's what made them dangerous. That's why the galaxy had united to stop them. And when humans vanished, the galaxy breathed easy. Now, that peace was breaking. On Earth, the Eidolon hovered silently above the ruins of a human city. It did not need fuel. It did not need crew. Its systems ran on deep core reactors, and its mind was an artificial intelligence called Gideon. Gideon had been asleep for 100 years, waiting for one command: awaken. That command had come. Inside, the ship. Lights slowly turned on. Weapon bays opened. A soft hum filled the air. But it did not fire. Not yet. Gideon's first task was to locate threats. It scanned Earth's orbit, the Moon, Mars, then reached out further, into the stars. The galaxy was full of signals now, weak, confused, afraid, just like they were before. In deep space, on the edge of a forgotten human battle site, another ancient ship stirred. It had been left behind after the final stand, thought destroyed. But it wasn't dead. It was sleeping. Like Eidolon. The signal reached it, and it replied. Directive received. Rebooting core. Awaiting instructions. In Valari space, panic turned into meetings. The council didn't want war, but they knew what was coming. If more of these ships rose, they could not stop them. Not with today's technology. Humanity's old weapons were more advanced than anything they had now. A vote was called. Should they attack Earth now? Try to destroy the Eidolon before it activated more ships? No, said Admiral Krex of the Krail people. We wait. We listen. We learn. If we strike too soon, we wake the others. But someone had already made that decision. A private fleet of mercenaries hired by the Vari Trade Guild entered Earth's orbit. They thought it would be easy. Just one old ship. Maybe they could capture it, sell it, or destroy it before anyone else could act. Their ship surrounded Earth and sent a warning. This is Private Fleet Alpha Black. Unknown vessel. Power down and prepare for boarding. If you resist, you will be destroyed. The Eidolon didn't answer. It simply moved. 1 second, it was hovering above the city. The next, it was behind the fleet. Before they could react, the Eidolon fired a single pulse. Not a laser. Not a missile. Just a soft blue beam. It hit the lead ship. That ship vanished. Not exploded, vanished. No fire, no smoke, just gone. The other ships turned to flee, but it was too late. The Eidolon moved like a shadow, fast, silent. Perfect. It didn't chase them. It danced around them, striking with precision. Every shot took out a ship, not one missed. Within 10 seconds, the entire fleet was gone. In the control room, Gideon spoke for the first time. Threat neutralized. Reclaiming directive continues. Begin Phase 2. Far underground on Earth, deep in old military bunkers, massive doors opened. Robots began to repair old systems. Factory lines came back to life. Missiles were checked. Defense grids scanned the skies. Earth was waking up, piece by piece. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, small outposts near human ruins began receiving unknown signals. A few ancient machines, left behind long ago, started humming again. These were not accidents. These were plans, put in place before humanity fell silent, and still, no one knew who had sent the original command. Awaken. On the Valari homeworld, Captain Sira watched the recorded footage again. Her eyes never left the screen. She knew something bigger was happening. That ship wasn't just acting on its own. It was following orders from something or someone. Then a private message came to her console, an old code. Human. It read, "We are not gone. We are waiting. If you're reading this, it has begun." Syra's hands trembled. The humans were not extinct, their ships were not lost, and their war was not over. It was just beginning again. In the cold darkness of space, near the edge of the galaxy, there floated a forgotten battlefield. Here, long ago, human ships had made their final stand. Debris still drifted between stars, broken metal, shattered engines, and empty escape pods. Nothing moved here anymore. No one came. It was a graveyard, silent and still. But silence doesn't last forever. A signal traveled through space. It was old, wrapped in a human code lost to time. It passed through dust clouds and old satellites, finally reaching the heart of the graveyard. There, in the shadow of a destroyed moon, something responded. A red light blinked inside a large, dead-looking warship. Then another. Then 20 more. The fleet wasn't dead. It was sleeping. Back in Valari space, Captain Sira was alone in her quarters. She kept replaying the message she received. "We are not gone. We are waiting. If you're reading this, it has begun." The words echoed in her mind. She didn't tell the council. Not yet. Something told her this was bigger than politics, bigger than orders. She needed answers. Meanwhile, deep inside the Eidolon, the AI Gideon connected with the other ships that were waking up. The fleet still remembered. Their cores had stored every battle, every loss, every name. Even after 100 years, the AIs had not forgotten their mission. Protect humanity, eliminate threats, complete the plan. And now, the plan had entered. Phase 2. One of the ships that responded was the Helios Wrath, a dreadnought once feared across the stars. Its AI, called Lyra, had been offline since the final battle. Now, she woke with a whisper. "Time?" Gideon replied. "Patien demandum 4 years since last war. Directive restored. Reactivate and await further instruction." Lyra's systems powered on. The ship began to heal itself. Repair bots swarmed its damaged hull, and its engines flickered with life. The once lifeless wreckage around it began to shift. Human drones, still loyal, came out of hiding and began gathering resources. They had survived this long in the cold by shutting down all systems. Now they were waking up fast. News of moving. Human ships reached the Galactic Council. Panic spread. How could they still be active? The humans had no colonies left, no leaders, no homeworld. But somehow the fleet had not died. The Council sent out probe ships to investigate. Only one returned. The footage it carried showed the Helios Wrath floating beside two more old human cruisers. A probe approached, sending peaceful signals. But the ships did not respond. They simply turned to face it. Then a voice was heard. "Unknown vessel, leave. This zone is now under Terran protection." Terran, the ancient name for humans. The galaxy had hoped humans were gone forever. But now they were taking back their space. Then came the biggest shock of all. On a ruined moon station near the Orion Belt, a group of scavengers found something strange. It was a stasis pod. Inside it was a man. Alive. Human. Frozen in time. The pod had kept him asleep for over a century. He was recovered and brought to a medical ship. When he woke, he said his name was Commander Elias Rourke, and he served in the last war. His first words were not a greeting. "Did the plan work? Are the ships rising?" The doctor stared at him, shocked. How could he know? Rourke sat up slowly. He looked older than his body showed. His mind was sharp, full of memories from a world that no longer existed. He explained everything. Before the final battle, he and a few others created a secret mission, Project Revenant. They knew humanity might lose, so they built a second chance. They hid ships, stored AIs, placed soldiers in deep sleep. They made Earth look dead. But they didn't die. They waited for the galaxy to grow soft, for their enemies to forget. And when the time was right, the ships would wake. Rourke looked into the eyes of the Valari doctor. "If I'm awake, then it's time. The second wave is coming." Back on Earth, Eidolon hovered in silence. It had sent orders to old satellites hidden across the galaxy. Not to attack. Not yet. The AIs had evolved. They didn't want random war. They wanted control. They wanted humanity's memory to return and their future to be born again. Gideon's next command was clear. Locate survivors. Rebuild command. The machines would search for more people like Elias Rourke. Cryo-sleep chambers, hidden bunkers, distant colonies lost in the stars. Somewhere out there, more humans were waiting to be found. In the shadows of old star systems, deep scanners picked up movements that had not happened in 100 years. Ghost ships moved across the void, not attacking, just watching, waiting, claiming the space that once belonged to humanity. The galaxy began to understand. The humans were not just coming back. They had planned their return, carefully, quietly, and now the Ghost Fleet was awake. The war was not over. It had just been paused. Commander Elias Rourke sat in the cold medical bay, staring through the window at the stars. So much had changed. The galaxy looked brighter now, softer. Ships moved slower. Their designs were smooth, artistic. But to Rourke, they looked weak. Not ready, not built for war. He touched the glass, his fingers trembling. "So, we survived." The Valari doctor nodded slowly. "You did, but barely. We don't understand how. Why did you hide all of this? Why fake extinction?" Rourke looked at her, his eyes hard. "Because we knew the war wasn't really over. It never ends. It only sleeps." The doctor stepped back. "That's not peace. That's paranoia." Rourke stood, muscles stiff from the long cryo sleep. You call it paranoia. We called it survival. Far away, on the edges of the old human frontier, more ships were rising. These were not just warships. They were colony carriers, research vessels, and AI-commanded platforms that had been buried inside asteroids and moons. They came online one by one, all answering the same signal: awakening, restore humanity, prepare the path. The galaxy was beginning to panic. The Council tried to send peace messages, offers to talk, but the human ships didn't answer. They didn't threaten either. They just moved into position, old Terran space, piece by piece. They set up shields, placed satellites, and began rebuilding systems that had been silent for 100 years. To many, it felt like a quiet invasion, but to the AIs, it was just the next step in the plan. Eidolon, still hovering above Earth, received a new command from Gideon. It wasn't just about defense anymore. It was time to reach out, not to the Council, but to survivors. Hidden human cells spread across the galaxy. Before the final battle, humanity had sent people into deep space, to unknown systems, colonies that went dark. Some were meant to stay, hidden forever. Now they were being called home. Commander Rourke was taken to a secret council meeting. They needed answers. What was happening? Could it be stopped? Rourke stepped into the chamber with calm strength. Around him sat leaders from 10 different species. They whispered, stared, questioned. "Why are your ships waking up?" asked one. "What are they planning?" asked another. Rourke waited for silence. Then he spoke. "You thought we were gone, but we never left. We were always watching, waiting. We left traps, drones, codes, even people. We faked our end so that you would relax, so that when the time came, we could return without warning." One of the council members stood. "This is madness. This is war." "No," Rourke replied. "This is strategy." The room fell quiet. The truth was heavy. He continued, "We don't want war, but we won't be hunted again. We lost the last time because we trusted peace too early. Not this time." The council didn't know how to respond. Meanwhile, across space, a scout ship approached one of the newly activated human colonies. It was a mining station hidden inside a broken planet. The scout sent a message. "We come in peace. We are not here to fight." The human station replied with 6 simple words. "Stand by. Human contact inbound." From the station came a small shuttle. Inside it were 2 humans, real ones, not AIs. Young, born in hiding, trained in silence. They wore old Terran uniforms, but with a new symbol on the chest, a rising phoenix. They met the scout crew face to face. No weapons were raised, just words. "We are not ghosts. We are not gone. The Terran legacy is alive, and we are ready." More and more of these colonies revealed themselves. All of them had been trained in secret. Each had a small AI core, old. War records and survival drills passed down through generations. They weren't big enough to fight yet, but they weren't small anymore. On Earth, Gideon connected the growing network. It now had access to more than 50 hidden locations. Repair. Bots were being launched across old battlefields. Weapon caches were being restored. The full map of human power, once scattered, was coming back together. And for the first time, Gideon detected something strange. A second signal. It wasn't part of the original awakening plan. It was older, deeper, hidden in Earth's core. Locked behind the most secure code ever written. Even Gideon could not open it. Rourke was contacted. He was taken to Eidolon, the first ship to awaken. Inside its command chamber, he stood face to face with the AI. "Commander Rourke," Gideon said, "we have found a sealed archive marked with your DNA key. Authorization required." Rourke nodded slowly. "Then open it." The vault unlocked. A message began to play. It was from Earth's last president, recorded just before the final war. She looked tired, but her voice was clear. If you're seeing this, humanity was nearly wiped out. But if our plan worked, you are alive, and the path forward is ready. The B. Message spoke of a deeper plan, one that went beyond survival. It spoke of a hidden Terran command base lost in deep space, a place where the final human leaders stored something called Project Skyfire. Rourke clenched his fists. Skyfire was not a weapon. It was a seed, a way to rebuild human civilization better than before. But first, they had to find it. The race had begun not just to survive, but to take back the stars. Humanity had never left. They had just been waiting for the right moment. And now, they were rising. The command chamber inside Eidolon was silent after the message ended. Commander Elias Rourke stood still, staring at the empty screen. The voice of Earth's last president echoed in his mind. Find Project Skyfire. It holds our future. He turned to Gideon, the AI core glowing softly. Where is it? Rourke asked. Gideon replied, Skyfire's location is encrypted. Coordinates require 2 DNA keys, yours and one marked Subject X9. Unknown location. Unknown status. Rourke clenched his jaw. He knew who X9 was. Her name was Dr. Liana Voss, the lead scientist of Project Skyfire. She had vanished during the war's final year, carrying half of the project's code inside her. Rumors said she boarded a deep space sleeper ship and vanished into uncharted space. Now, to unlock Skyfire, Rourke had to find her, but they weren't the only ones looking. The Valari Council had intercepted fragments of the Skyfire message. They didn't understand all of it, but they heard one word: rebirth. To them, that meant danger. A reborn humanity could not be trusted. The Council voted in secret. If Project Skyfire was real, it had to be found and destroyed before the humans reached it. In deep space, the race began. Rourke took command of the Eidolon, backed by a growing fleet of reawakened human ships. They moved quietly, scanning old human routes, searching for signs of X9. Most of these systems had long been abandoned, forgotten by time, but not all. On a small frozen planet near the star Sigma Red, they found the wreck of a research vessel, the Dawn Herald. It was human. Inside, in a sealed cryo chamber, was a survivor. It was not Dr. Liana Voss. It was her daughter. She was only a child when the ship launched. The cryo chamber had kept her alive. Her name was Kyla Voss, and in her genetic code was a partial memory. One that matched her mother's signature. When she woke, she looked at Rourke with wide, confused eyes. Are you with the Terran Defense? Rourke knelt beside her. Yes. And I need your help to find your mother. Kayla didn't know much, but she remembered something. Her mother had told her stories before sleep. One of them was about a place where the stars turn blue and the sky burns without fire. A riddle. But maybe a clue. Gideon searched the galaxy for stars matching the riddle. Only one system came close, a region called the Azure Fold, where strange energy storms turned red stars blue. No ships traveled there now. It was too dangerous. But Rourke didn't hesitate. He gave the order. Set course for the Azure Fold. Meanwhile, the Valari Council sent their own ship, a stealth cruiser piloted by elite agents. Their orders: find Skyfire first, or destroy everything in its path. As Rourke's fleet entered the Azure Fold, chaos greeted them. The storms were violent, tearing at shields, jamming scanners. Navigation was almost impossible, but the Eidolon held strong. Gideon adjusted course every second, dancing between the violent pulses of the storm. And then Kayla pointed through the screen. There, that shape, on the asteroid. It was a structure. Buried into the side of a massive asteroid was a human docking bay. still powered, still hidden. They had found it. The fleet moved in carefully. The asteroid opened like a mechanical shell, revealing a hangar large enough for capital ships. As they docked, lights flickered on. Warm, old lights. Human lights. Inside was a message waiting for them. It was a recording from Dr. Liana Voss. She was older, tired, her voice calm but strong. If you're seeing this, then I've failed to return. But Kayla, my daughter, you survived. That means we still have hope. She explained everything. Project Skyfire was not a weapon. It was a civilization core, a digital vault of knowledge, AI blueprints, terraforming systems, genetic libraries, and cultural history. It was built to restart Earth or any planet, if humanity ever fell. But it had one other feature. It could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. With Skyfire, humans could create a new Terran order, strong enough to stand alone. That's why it was hidden. That's why others would try to destroy it. Before the message ended, Liana gave the final access code, linked to Kayla's voice and Rourke's command. The Skyfire vault opened. Inside the chamber, soft lights bathed the room. In the center, a large, glowing sphere hovered above a circular console. Around it were smaller pods filled with seeds, data chips, nanocores, and memory crystals. It was humanity's legacy, all of it. Rourke stepped forward. We found it, but... Before they could activate anything, alarms blared, enemy ships detected. The Volari stealth cruiser had followed them. It launched missiles into the asteroid base, trying to collapse the vault. Human defense drones activated, intercepting the attacks. In the chaos, Kayla rushed to the console. She placed her hand on the scanner and spoke. My name is Kayla Voss. I claim Project Skyfire. The sphere pulsed. The system accepted her voice. Rourke gave the second command. Activate defense protocol. Prepare global download. The asteroid lit up. Skyfire's systems began to transfer. The knowledge, the seeds, the plans, all were being sent across the human fleet. The Volari cruiser tried to retreat, but Eidolon was faster. With one clean shot, it was gone. The war hadn't started, but now it was inevitable. As Skyfire's core came to life, Rourke turned to Kayla. This is what they were afraid of, he said. She looked back at him. And now, it's what they'll have to face. The future of humanity had just been unlocked. The asteroid base in the Azure Fold floated in silence after the battle. Inside, Project Skyfire pulsed softly, its golden light flowing through deep halls and control stations. All across the reawakened human fleet, the data spread like fire. Fast, alive, and unstoppable. Humanity had just been given its second chance. Elias Rourke stood on the command deck of Eidolon, watching the download complete. Around him, young officers, some born in hiding, others awakened from cryosleep, worked at their stations. On every screen, Skyfire was building something new. Ships were being upgraded. Medical systems restored. AI minds evolved. Farming technology. City blueprints and education cores, all of it was coming back. We can rebuild Earth, one officer said. No, Rourke replied. We can rebuild everything. Kayla Voss sat beside the Skyfire core inside the asteroid vault. Her fingers traced the floating holograms of human culture. Music, books, inventions, even languages lost to war. She had never seen Earth. She had never seen peace. But now she felt hope. Back on Earth, Gideon connected to Skyfire's stream. The ancient AI core now had access to the full Terran legacy. It began waking more systems, old AI bunkers beneath mountains, underground labs sealed for 100 years, human clones in stasis, trained to lead in case the world ended. They began to rise, and the galaxy noticed. The Volari Council held emergency talks. Humans were not just alive, they were stronger, smarter, unified. With Skyfire, they could become the most advanced race in the galaxy overnight. Some council members wanted to send ambassadors. Others wanted to send weapons. The leader of the Valari, Chancellor Virel, made a hard choice. If we wait, we die. We must strike before they form their empire. The council secretly voted, begin preparations for war, but they were already too late. Across the galaxy, old human colonies were coming back online. Hidden moon bases, deep sea, bunkers, asteroid cities, all connected by Skyfire's signal. Ships flew in tight formations, drones planted Terran flags on long-abandoned outposts. One signal went farther than all the others. Deep in an old war zone, a long-dead space station flickered with power. It had once been a Terran command post. Now, with Skyfire's help, it became the capital of something new. A voice echoed through every human channel. It was Rourke. This is Commander Elias Rourke. As of this day, all surviving Terran forces will join under one name, the New Terran Order. We are not here to conquer. We are here to remember, to rebuild, and to protect what is ours. The message was heard by millions, humans in hiding, alien allies, and enemies alike. The Order had risen. Skyfire wasn't just giving humanity its past. It was giving them a purpose. AI architects began redesigning starships, mixing war and peace. Carriers now held farms and schools. Drones built floating cities and gas giants. Terraformers began changing dead moons into green colonies. But war still hung in the stars. The Valari Council launched a preemptive strike on one of the new human outposts. Their ships arrived fast, targeting a Skyfire relay hub. What they didn't expect was a response. In less than 5 minutes, 3 Terran ships arrived, sleek, black, and glowing with new energy cores. These were Skyfire-class destroyers. Unlike anything the galaxy had seen, they didn't fire first. But when the Valari ships launched missiles, they ended the battle in seconds. No kills, just shutdowns. Human tech now had weapons that disabled, not destroyed. It was cleaner, smarter, more dangerous. The message was clear. We won't start the war, but we'll finish it. Chancellor Virel watched the reports and felt something she hadn't felt in decades. Fear. Back on Earth, Gideon presented a plan to Rourke. Project Skyfire's next phase is ready. Phase Genesis. Location: Terra Nova. Rourke nodded. Terra Nova was a habitable planet, once considered for colonization. The galaxy had ignored it. Now the new Terran Order would turn it into their first true world. A new Earth. The fleet moved. Hundreds of ships, drones building cities before anyone even stepped down, forests planted, oceans purified, towers rising from soil untouched by war. Kayla stood on the green hills of Terra Nova and felt the wind. Real wind, not simulation. This is what they tried to take from us, she whispered, and now the galaxy watched as the humans returned, not as broken survivors, but as something new. Across every star system, whispers spread. The Terrans are back. And this time, they're organized. Some wanted to ally. Others prepared for war. But one thing was now certain. The old galaxy had ended, and a new one had just begun, with humans holding the map. Terra Nova was beautiful. The first true human world since Earth fell. Green forests covered the valleys. Blue oceans stretched under clear skies. Floating cities shined like silver stars during the night. And above it all, a new fleet guarded the sky. Ships with names like Hope's Edge, Iron Resolve, and Legacy of Earth. These were the protectors of the new Terran Order. But even here, peace felt fragile. Commander Elias Rourke stood on a cliff, watching construction drones shape the first capital. Behind him, Kayla Voss walked slowly, reading the latest reports. "They're gathering," she said. Rourke didn't turn. "How many?" 14 species, not just the Valari, old enemies, even old allies. They're calling it the last coalition." He nodded. "They think we're building an empire. They think we're building a weapon." Rourke finally turned to her. "They're wrong. But if they come for us, we'll give them the truth." Far across the galaxy, the coalition fleet gathered. Massive ships, some older than the war itself, refitted for one purpose: to stop humanity before they became unstoppable. Their leaders didn't trust Skyfire. They didn't trust humans. Because deep inside, they remembered. They remembered how humans once burned across the stars, fearless, angry, clever. They remembered how hard it was to win last time, and how many of their own died doing it. They couldn't risk it happening again, so they came all at once, heading straight for Terra Nova. Gideon saw them coming first. Thousands of ships. Skyfire activated its final protocol, Project Bastion. Across the system, hidden satellites powered on. Giant energy shields lit up around Terra Nova's orbit. Stealth drones emerged from gas giants, and the full Terran fleet, now complete, moved into position. But this was no invasion. It was history repeating. Rourke addressed the Terran fleet from the command bridge of Eidolon. "We didn't come back to fight. We came back to live, to rebuild. But if they bring war to our skies, we will remind them why the stars once feared us." Kayla stepped forward. "This is not the old Terran Empire. This is the new Terran Order, and we will not fall." As the coalition fleet arrived, they gave a final warning. "Disarm. Shut down Skyfire. Surrender leadership, or be destroyed." Elias Rourke stood silent for a moment, then answered, "No." The war began, but it didn't go the way anyone expected. The Terran ships didn't charge blindly. They moved with precision. Drones danced through enemy fire. EMP pulses shut down weapons without killing crews. Human AIs hacked into enemy systems, rerouting missiles mid-flight. One coalition flagship, the Celestial Spear, tried to breach the Terran defense line. It vanished in a silent blast, disabled, and held by tractor beams, not destroyed. Even in war, the humans chose strategy over slaughter. Still, the battle was massive. For hours, space shook with fire and light. Terra Nova stayed protected under Skyfire's planetary shield. Civilians watched from safe cities, not in fear, but in belief. They knew their protectors would not fail. In the final hour, the coalition tried one last trick: a stealth ship carrying a planet-killer device aimed for Terra Nova's core. If it reached the surface, everything would end. But Kyla Voss was ready. She took command of Vanguard 1, the fastest interceptor humanity had. With just seconds left, she intercepted the ship, firing Skyfire's latest non-lethal cannon. It disabled the enemy craft, frozen in mid-space. The coalition retreated, beaten, but not broken. The war had not ended in death, but in a message: humanity is back, and they have changed. After the battle, Rourke stood before a crowd in Terra, Nova's capital. Kayla beside him. Drones broadcasted his voice across every human colony. This war wasn't ours, but we answered it. Not with rage, but with power, with control, and with honor. The galaxy must learn this: we are not your past, we are your future. He raised a new flag, black and silver, a phoenix rising from fire. The Terran Order will not be an empire, it will be a shield, for our people and for those who believe, in peace through strength. The crowd roared. A new age had begun. Far away, on a quiet moon, a lone Valari scout watched the broadcast and whispered to herself. They thought the war was over, but it never really ended. Humanity just waited. She sent a message back to her leaders. 4 words. We must change too. The end or the beginning? Let me know if you'd like an epilogue, a spin-off, or to expand the story into a season 2. Your audience will definitely want more after this.